Hey, welcome back to Snapple Games. My name is Max, and I'm back here today to talk about the top 5 commons from the new set, Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. If you don't know my channel, it's youtube.com/snapbolt. I just recorded a video where I discussed a bunch of the commons from this set, and I talked about where they could see play, what cards I think are good, but I wanted to separate it into two videos. So just a large discussion of all the commons that I think could see play, and then this separate video for the top 5 commons from the set. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Number 5 card already on the screen is You Meet in a Tavern. This card is actually a reprint and a downshift. So it was printed originally and it was an uncommon, and now it's reprinted in this set as a common. It's 4 mana sorcery. Choose one of these two options. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of creature cards from among them and put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom. The second option is creatures you control get +2/+2. This card seems like a huge upgrade specifically for elves, but it could see play in other places too. So let's break it down. It's a 4 mana Lead the Stampede. Lead the Stampede is the exact same card as this top part. Look at the top 5, put any creatures into your hand, except for 3 mana. However, you pay 1 more mana for this. Sure, it is double green. For elf's sake, that doesn't really matter. You pay 1 more mana, but then you get the Lead the Stampede card advantage element, but then you also get this great win condition in this mini overrun, which we don't have in green and Pauper right now. In green, the best pump spell that you can have is Magnify. 1 mana, all creatures get +1/+1. We don't have anything close to this. I think this is a huge upgrade for elves. So just think about Lead the Stampede is your best card advantage, card in elves. So you get another one of those plus a win condition. That's just exactly what you need. Oh, you need gas? Refill. Oh, you already have a wide board? Overrun, kill them. So it's going to be good in both those situations. Sure, 4 mana, a little bit clunky, but I could see, the only time it's going to be bad is when you are stuck on 3 mana. They're killing all your elves. You can't cast it. But same thing is true for something like Distant Melody, and I really do think this is going to be better than Distant Melody. Now you don't need to splash in elves. You can just play 4 Lead the Stampede, 4 Meet in a Tavern. Then you have this great card advantage engine, and you just get this extra win con and you meet in a tavern. So seems pretty good to me. I could also see it seeing play maybe in other spots, like really creature heavy, like green red, kind of mid-rangey ramp decks could play a card like this. And maybe even a deck like Stompy could have like 1 or 2 at the top end. Big refill plus overrun for your creatures. Seems pretty good to me. I think this card is powerful. When it was originally printed, I was like I saw it and I was like, wow, if that was a common, that would be strong. And now it is. So we'll see how it does. Let's move right along. The number 4 card from Baldur's Gate, the Commander Legends set, is Kenku Artificer. Some people seem so hype on this card. I do like it, but I'm going to talk about why it could be good and why it can, be so-so. So let me read the card first. 3 mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, put 3 +1/+1 counters up to 1 target non-creature artifact. That artifact becomes a 0/0 artifact creature with flying. So let's break it down. What are the uses of this card? What are you actually trying to do, and what do you really get? For 3 mana, you get a 1/1, and then you turn a non-creature artifact into a 3/3 flying, essentially. So the main use of this card is obviously going to be you play the tapped indestructible artifact lands, then you play this, and then now your indestructible land is a 3/3 flying, and it still has indestructible. Okay, that's pretty strong. Not only that, but if you're playing cards like Ichor Wellspring, you can just target Ichor Wellspring if you want, because one of the downsides of this card, let's say you play this on turn 3. You go like tap land, turn 2, you play Ichor Wellspring or something, then you play this and make your tapped indestructible land a 3/3 flying. So that's 3 mana, you got 4 power, 3 of it is flying, and now you have the indestructible flyer, which is really hard for some decks to deal with. Even if you kill this, you still retain the indestructible creature, plays around Edict 2, all that's good, but you also went down 1 mana. So I could see that being pretty poor in some situations. You can't really afford to go down 1 mana all the time. Plus, you're animating one of your lands. It's kind of risky, even though it has indestructible. If this card starts to get better, people are gonna play answers to that indestructible creature. Imagine you go like play this on turn three, make my indestructible land. They go snap your land, bounce it back to your hand. Now I have to play another tap land, and I'm just sitting around here with my 1/1 where I didn't even get to draw a card or anything. Okay, so I'm talking kind of a lot of smack about this card for being on my top five, but I think it's like a little overrated for that reason. It's just a lot of things. Imagine you make your land an indestructible fire, they go Journey to Nowhere on it. That sets you back so much. You didn't get any advantage. You paid a 3 mana 1/1, they kill one of your lands. That's pretty bad. Again, when they can't deal with the 3/3 indestructible fire, you're just going to win a lot of games. You can also just target stuff like your Ichor Wellspring, so if they bolt it, you just get to draw a card. That's pretty nice. A lot of good synergies. I could see this winning a ton of games. If you just start ephemerating this, you can make all your artifact lands into creatures, into 3/3 flyers. They have indestructible if you have the tap lands. There is some pretty powerful stuff you can do with this card. I just don't know. I think people are just like going a little blinders on, not seeing the downside of my land getting bounced or exiled or whatever, like, dust to dust, revoke existence. I mean, of course, those are going to be good against you anyway. But then you're playing this non-artifact card in something like Affinity, and that does cost you a lot. So really powerful. I think other people probably would have this higher on their list, but it's down on my list a little bit at the number 4 slot. Next card, number 3 card from the set, is Breath Weapon. This is essentially Fiery Cannonade. It's 3 mana instant. Breath Weapon, I don't like that name, deals 2 damage to each non-dragon creature. So instead of non-pirate, it's non-dragon. It's just much better than Fiery Cannonade. There is one pirate, and that's Shrek. It's the red monarch creature. It's a 5/2, but it is a pirate. So if you don't have the pirate in your deck, you're going to want to play Breath Weapon over Fiery Cannonade. It's just straight up better than Fiery Cannonade. And now you could even play more than 4 in some decks if you want to go that route. I think most of the time you won't. This effect, actually, when Cannonade came out, I thought you'd want to play 4 in a lot of control decks, but the effect actually does get worse, especially when people start playing around it a little bit more in multiples, at least. But this is just basically a Fiery Cannonade upgrade. Nice to have another option there. Not too much else to say about it, just a good wrath. But moving on to the number 2 slot, this is a card I'm really excited to play with. I think this card's going to be great. And this is Arms of Hadar. This is essentially another wrath, but it's 4 mana. 1 black, 3 colorless sorcery. Creatures target player controls get -2/-2 till end of turn. Okay, these cards are still pretty new. I actually thought this was an instant, so it makes it a little bit worse. Maybe it should be farther down on my list, but we're going to stick with it. I still think this card is strong. Specifically, it seems really good to me, at least in the sideboard or main deck of blue-black fairies, because sometimes Suffocating Fumes doesn't quite get there. So against even stuff like elves, a lot of times they do have 2 toughness things, and this doesn't hit your own creatures. So it just seems really good, especially in like, you might be able to play some type of like blue-black control deck and play this card. I really like it. You can also attack with your creatures, and maybe some creatures bounce off of each other. Then you play this, only their creatures get -2/-2. So I can see this being better than the Fiery Cannonade options in a lot of decks. Like any deck that has small creatures and can cast like Fiery Cannonade or this, you're going to prefer this most of the time. You don't really care that it's 4 mana instead of 3, because a lot of times you want to wait for the opponent to play more creatures into your wrath anyway, as long as you get up to the 4 mana threshold. But yeah, this card is sweet. I really like the design. Again, I actually thought it was an instant, but that's why we read the cards, right? You got to read the cards. Never be ashamed to read the cards. I really like this one. I'm going to be brewing with it. Hopefully we get it on Magic Online. Go watch the other video discussing the Baldur's Gate cards if you want more info on that, because we may not be getting all the cards on Magic Online. Okay. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, what's going on? There's a lot of cards that could be on the top 5 list or that haven't been discussed in the previous video if you watch that one. What's going on? And I just didn't want to take up too much space, but the number 1 card, I just kind of grouped all the initiative cards together, because I didn't want my top 5 card list to be a bunch of different initiative cards. I think that this initiative ability um, is underrated. Now, let's just go over this card, then we're going to talk about what initiative is, and then we'll discuss the other initiative cards as well. At least the ones that are the best ones, in my opinion. 4 mana, 1/4 flying. When it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. So it's very, very similar to Monarch. It's you play this creature, you take the initiative, you get a reward each turn for the initiative. But instead of drawing a card on your end step, you actually go through a dungeon. And I'm going to show the dungeon now. All right. It took me a second to find it. Should have had it ready, but I didn't. So this is the dungeon that you get. You can't enter this dungeon unless you venture into the Undercity, and that's when you take the initiative. So you can't venture and then join this dungeon unless you take the initiative, okay? So then the reward you get each turn is you can just travel through this dungeon as normal, okay? So you play this, you take the initiative, you get the emblem that says, I believe it's on your end step, you venture into the dungeon. But then if they hit you, they take it and then they start venturing through the dungeon. But just like Monarch, if they don't have a creature in play and you take the initiative, you just get so much value every turn. It's going to be almost like a planeswalker. So let's read through what the options are in this dungeon and why I think it's so good. I think it's underrated by the community right now. I think it's basically just as good, could be better than Monarch in some situations. And the other bonus of it is you could now play some Monarch creatures and some initiative creatures. Then you could sometimes Monarch is bad to play too many of them because if you play one but you have other Monarch creatures in your hand, they don't really do anything. But if you go Monarch and then you're like, okay, I need to stabilize, but then you also go initiative and you're able to protect it, you should win so fast. Um, so let's read through this. Secret Entrance, search library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand. Okay? Get a land. That's worse than drawing a card, but that could be good in certain situations. Now, you can go down either side of the dungeon on your next turn, put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature, not too bad, or scry 2. These are both reasonable, again, probably worse than drawing a card, but 2+1/+1 counters can help you really protect the initiative or the monarch. Maybe you have both. Now, here's where we kind of get into it a little more. You never go to creature, so you never go into this arena because goat is only for multiplayer, and that's fine. It's just because these mechanics are designed for multiplayer, not for 1v1. I'm not even gonna get into why I don't like Monarch and this new initiative overall, but we have it for now, so we're gonna talk about it. So this next row is where it really gets interesting. Stash created treasure, sure, but trap target player loses 5 life. Wow. I mean, maybe that's designed for multiplayer EDH, but in 1v1, make them lose 5 life is huge. If you're able to just hold on to the initiative, you're just going to kill them pretty quickly. They lose 5 life, and then you get to draw a card. Then the ultimate, reveal the top 10 cards of your library, put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it. It gains hexproof until your next turn. Okay, you don't need that many creatures in your deck. Reveal the top 10 cards of your library, put a creature from among them onto the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it. It gains hexproof until your next turn, so they can't even kill it. Um, and it helps protect the initiative to keep going. That just seems so good to me. Again, if you go down this side, you scry 2, treasure, and then you get a 4/1 menace. That's fine because you can take the initiative back with the 4/1, but I think mostly you're going to be going down this left side if you have a creature to forge onto. And usually you will because you're going to be playing the monarch. You're going to be playing the initiative creature, and then you're going to get the reward, and then you're going to get the counters on that creature to help protect, and then you just make them lose 5, draw a card. These are all really good rewards that stack up pretty nicely. So I think this is like one of my favorite ones. 4 mana, 1/4 flying. Flying is huge in Pauper. There's a lot of cards like Spellstutter Sprite, Fairy Seer, and you want to be able to block those. Glint Hawk, Core Sky Fisher, those can steal the Monarch or the Initiative from you, but this helps protect from those cards specifically. Plus, being a 1/4 doesn't die to Lightning Bolt. Really like this one. Now let's look at some of the other ones that I think are the best initiative creatures from this set. This one I really like. It's a black one here. 4 mana, 1/5. When it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. And then the ability is when it becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller loses 5 life. So why is that relevant on this 1/5? And it's because you play it, you take the initiative. Let's say their board is like a 1/1 flying and I don't know, a 2/3, just random. They attack, they take the initiative from you. Now you attack back. If they want to block with their 2/3 to protect the initiative, they lose 5 life. Then you can just keep attacking. If they don't have an answer for this, they have to block to protect the initiative. If they don't, you take it back. If they do, they lose 5 life. Plus, just being a 1/5 is a really good defender of the initiative. So imagine having a deck built around this card, Thorn of the Black Rose, and a bunch of good black removal spells like Snuff Out. You could even play blue black, play Counterspell. Then you could, play Thorn in this, or you could play Sneak and Thorn, or, any combination of Monarch and Initiative, plus a lot of ways to protect, seems really strong to me. So stock of cards like Prismatic Strands goes up. There's also a 5 mana white creature that takes the initiative. There is a red one for 4 mana, which is like a 0/4 defender that can give something haste and menace, I think. But I like these two best. The other one that I like a lot is this green one. 5 mana, 5/4. It takes the initiative and it has trample. Trample helps take the initiative back. Plus 5 mana, 5/4 is 5 mana, 5/4 trample is just okay. It's just like, nothing to scoff at. If you play this in something like Ponza, you could be taking the initiative and Monarch, and then you just have this huge trampler. Plus, now there's a lot of good tramplers in green between like this, Jewel Thief, Dino. And when you have a bunch of tramplers in your deck, they actually get a little bit better because it just makes it harder and harder for them to chump. It just makes it harder for them to make effective blocks. Plus, other tramplers will let you take the initiative back as well, so they can't really chump to stop you ever. Again, this is my favorite one. I really like this black one, and I just can't understate how good I think initiative is. Um, sure, it might be worse than Monarch, but imagine playing 2 Monarch creatures, 1 initiative creature in your control deck. That just seems so strong because now you're not in a situation where you have multiple Monarch creatures in hand. What about a 2/2 split or a 3/3 split with a bunch of controlling cards? What if the entire option of your deck is say, I don't want your creature to hit me, I'm a control deck, and I get value out of these things when you can't hit me? That seems like such a good build. Plus, this is just such a good way to win. You can hit you could reveal your Monarch creature off this, put it into play, take the Monarch. It's a huge creature. You reveal a Gurmag Angler, you have an 8/8. It just seems so good. Going down this left path is just going to give you so much value. So I really like initiative. All the initiative cards grouped together. It's my number 1 card from the set. I'm really excited to brew with this. Again, I discussed it at large in my last video. They made an announcement saying all of these cards from the set may not be on Magic Online. I hope they rectify that situation. There's a lot of playable cards for Pauper from the set. Let's hope we get all of them. If you want the full thing, just go to my channel. Again, youtube.com/napbolt. Check out that other video. I discuss it for several minutes talking about the announcement and that they might not have all the cards. But let's just hope we eventually will get all the cards because there's so many good so many good things to do. Let's just go through this top 5 list again real quick. Quick recap. Number 5, You Meet in a Tavern. Number 4, Artificer. Number 3, Breath Weapon. Number 2, Arms of Hadar, new type of Wrath. Seems pretty sweet. Again, might have this one too high. And then number 1, the initiative cards with the Undercity. Thank you so much for watching. Again, youtube.com/snapbolt. Having a lot of fun making this content. I hope everyone's enjoying it. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace.